On the dot, we are here to go live on the United Hotspot. It's another day as we do get in the mood for an upcoming big fixture. Man United taking on Liverpool. We are back with some good news as we do talk about an interesting footballer, one who divides opinions at Manchester United. Many feel he can be an important player for the club, but evidence has proved otherwise. For the boss, there is hope that Mason Mount can be the star he was hoping he was going for when he made him the first signing of the last summer transfer window. My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Hotspot. My question is Mason Greenwood good enough to be a starter at Manchester United? I mean Mason Mount, not Mason Greenwood. I wanted to check how alert you are. But is Mason Mount good enough to be a starter at Manchester United? Well, he's back training with his teammates, which should be good news if you do love a complete squad at Man United. If you're tired of listening to all the excuses of Erik ten Hag, Mount is back training with a smile on his face. He was training with all his teammates today. So he did Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Mount last played football in November. So meaning he has not really had enough time to prove to us that he's not good enough or that he's good enough. Question is he going to prove himself now with pressure coming in from Ineos? But the reality is for him, the beauty is the team is improved now. Does he have a role to make it better? I'll discuss his role in the team and more if you just stick with me here on the United Hotspot. Well, there's of course news that Christian Eriksen has made it clear that he has admitted that he's fallen below the pecking order. He's almost fifth option when it comes to midfielders at Man United. So he has chosen to move on at the end of the season. That, I think, for me, is an obvious one. We've spoken about that several times here, saying that Ineos will not be keeping players who have overstayed their importance at Man United past the next summer. So obviously, Eriksen is one of those. He is not in the long-term plans of Manchester United, and he does want to break the record of Peter Schmeichel as the player with the most caps in the history of Denmark. So if that is going to happen, he has got to be playing football. He has got 3 more caps to win to break that record. That is Christian Eriksen. So Eriksen is one of those we should be expecting to offload. But the one player who will start a lot of debates, even to boardrooms, the boardrooms where Ineos and co will be seated, Omar Berada and the team, is Mason Mount. What exactly is his role at Manchester United? Now, guys, look, when we signed Mount, I do recall properly Erik ten Hag coming out in the first press conference when he was quizzed about why he made Mason Mount his first signing. He made it clear he likes the way he plays and he felt his style would properly suit into the kind of football that Manchester United will play under him because he's quick and he's good with these transitions, he said, which we have not yet seen. I think we've seen his pace in terms of running. We've not seen his hard work is there. We've not seen him do anything magical on the ball, even when we're at our worst. And maybe that's because the entire team was so bad, and football is not a one-man game. How good your teammates are will have an impact on how you perform as a player, however good or bad you are. So that maybe could get us cutting him some slack. But now that the team is looking a little improved than when he left back in November, question is, will he have a place in there? And you can help me try to understand, to see where Mason Mount can fit into this team. Where can Mason Mount fit in this team? You can help me try to pick this. Now, I'm one of those people who think that Mount is both lucky and unlucky. Why? He's lucky because honestly, no sober manager under normal circumstances would have rushed to sign Mount for nearly £60 million from Chelsea when he had a year left on his contract. They could have waited and signed them for free, but Erik ten Hag just made him feel like the most important footballer on the market in that summer. We're in a rush. Let's again, it's time to sign him. So for me, that's a bit of luck. It was relieving him of misery that was enduring in London at Chelsea. So for him, that is luck. But he was also unlucky in the sense that he arrives at Man United and he gets all this, praise, and everyone is excited and waiting, eager to see what he's going to do. And boom, he's not good enough. The first few games he plays, then he gets injured. So sold to injury, he's not playing for months and months. Now, that's not a good way to start your career when you are one of the most highly anticipated players, you joining the club. So that's why I say he's both lucky and unlucky. But he returns now when the team is in a better state than it was by the time he left. Now that should be an advantage. But where is he going to play? That's the question. Now, the other unlucky bit about Mount for me is him being shadowed by Bruno. I feel like Mount, he said in his own admission, he plays best as a number 8. That's what he said. But of course, he's aware that lately you've got to be able to play so many positions if you're going to be an important player for a big club like Man United. More so, if you're a midfielder or an attacking player forward in a way, you've got to be able to switch several roles. Now, he says his favorite is a number 8, but because he loves to run around, the number 8 has a little bit of freedom that they can run around the middle and even go wide a bit or up front a bit if they have to. So that's the freedom of a number 8. And he can also play as a number 10, or he can play out wide. But in this United, you look at the setup that Erik ten Hag likes to play. He times a 4-2-3-1, or sometimes a 4-3-3 with a one person at the base of the midfield and stuff. It then becomes difficult for Mount to find a place, because if we are going to play 4-2-3-1, obviously he's not going to be one of the two. He won't be a player ahead of Kobe Mainoo or Casemiro. These are two players who have got good holding midfield abilities. There is no way Mount is going to start ahead of them. Then the other one position he could be going for in the middle is the number 10. Now, if you ask me, I think there are games where Mason Mount can try to have a nod ahead of Bruno. But the fact that Bruno was armed with the captain's armband makes it extremely difficult for even the manager himself to bench him, because you don't strip Harry Maguire of the captaincy because he was not good enough. He was not starting enough games. He was making errors. He was a bench player. And then you hand it to Bruno Fernandes. Then a few games later, you're benching Bruno for Mason Mount. So you realize how Erik ten Hag creates problems for himself in many ways. Because I think these are problems that Erik ten Hag created for himself, because clearly he did not have a proper plan for Mason Mount when he was signing him. And these are the things that we expect to change under the new system, under the new structure of the director of football, Dan Ashworth and co. Because you don't bring in a player, a good player, and guys, Mason Mount is a good player, we all know it. But you look at how we play and you see we have no space for him in how we play. We did not plan for him before he came. You don't go into a market and buy a player without having a proper plan for them. You can look at a team like Arsenal and you see the players they have signed. People are saying, Kai Havertz, why is he signed by Mikel Arteta and Edu? But you saw that clearly they had a plan for him. And that's why he's scoring goals for fun now. And he's winning over everyone. The naysayers are all converted that probably was a good signing for them. For Man United and Mount, perhaps Erik ten Hag saw this player who excited him, and he dreamt of having him probably at Ajax. But perhaps in his wildest dreams never felt he would have, because there was no way Mount was going to go from Chelsea, where he had won the Champions League, to play for Ajax. Ends up at Man United and he's thinking, there is this player I admired and it would be my dream to manage him. But he did not have a proper plan for him. That goes to show you a long way in terms of how bad the structure at United was, because this is now the manager signing players for him, not for what they are building. If you're building something, you've got a proper plan for it. So you will sign players to fit into it. Look what we risk now. We are risking to kill the career of a young, good footballer because we did not have a plan for them. So you brought a Mason Mount, but in the setup of United, there is Bruno who is blocking him. Whichever position, because Bruno can play number 8, number 10, and out wide. That's exactly what Mason Mount can play. Now, Erik ten Hag himself gave Bruno the captain's armband. He will not bench him for a single minute. So, what is he going to do with Mount then? That's the question. Now, I can sit here and try to be creative, which I'm going to do, and say, okay, maybe these are the options where we can see Mount enjoy a few minutes, because we didn't sign him for nearly £60 million to be brought on the bench, to be a bench player. So, where then do we fit him? If Erik ten Hag had the audacity to bench Marcus Rashford, I think then maybe he would perhaps have a chance to play alongside Bruno. Because what then that would mean is he could probably have his two holding midfielders, Kobe and Casemiro, play Mount as the number 10, put Bruno to the right, send Garnacho to the left, Højlund up top, and bench Rashford. For me, that's the only way I see Mason Mount get playing time at Man United, if Erik ten Hag can bench Marcus Rashford. But as it is lately, it looks increasingly difficult for even Rashford to be benched. Garnacho cannot be touched. Højlund, of course, is a striker. Mount is not a striker. Højlund is our most important player, arguably. So, and then Bruno is the captain. And for Bruno, the reason why it's difficult, it's not because of his performances even, because I think Bruno has for a couple of games, really, for many games, shown that he can be benched. He's benchable, if I can borrow the word, if it's there. That he's benchable. He's not an untouchable player. But the fact that he's wearing the captain's armband, which he snatched from a guy who failed to put on performances worthy of a captain of Man United. If Erik ten Hag benched Bruno now and he passed on the captain's armband to either Casemiro or whoever the assistant captain is, or Scott McTominay, who is also not good enough to start, he will be, I think, inviting problems for himself. So you see how Erik ten Hag created two problems for himself. Mount signing him without a plan, then handing Bruno the captaincy, meaning it's difficult to bench him. So you look at it, and it's really a tight situation for Mason Mount. And whereas we're excited for his return, I'm thinking, is he going to be there to be on the bench? Will he accept to be on the bench? Is it right for Ineos and Omar Berada to have a player earning near £200,000 per week to be on the bench? What impact does it bring coming off the bench? Can he make himself so important a player off the bench? But which bench player earns £200,000 per week? So you think about all that, and you see that in Mount and his return, that is exciting us. There is a big problem there that Ineos will have to dig into. And I'm sure the first question will be Omar Berada calling Erik ten Hag into a meeting and asking him what his plan was for Mason Mount. So these are issues this club has had. Poor recruitment. Just signing players who seem exciting but without a plan. Think about the clutter we have in the right wing. Yet even now, we feel we need to solve it. We had Mason Greenwood. You have Anthony Dos Santos. We had Amad Diallo. We have we signed Jadon Sancho. We have now Alejandro Garnacho. We have Facundo Pellistri. All these players all playing the same position. Now you ask yourself, did we have a plan was there a proper plan when we were spending 85 million quid on Anthony? When we had all these players, Anamad, whom we bought for about 35 million in 2021, plays the same position. We have this emerging Pellistri, who clearly showed signs that he could be a good player. Then you have Mason Greenwood, who was a baller in every way. Then you spend 85 million quid on Anthony. Where is the plan? So these are the issues that Omar Berada and Sir Dave Brailsford and this entire team they are trying to build are set to solve. Those are the big problems we have at Man United. So I'm eager to see how we are going to make use of Mason Mount. But the question is, we know that, and Erik ten Hag said it before, that we need two good players in every position, which is good, which is okay. But how good are these good players? Are you going to have two players on £200,000 per week wages competing in the same position? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make business sense, because you can't have two potential starters of earning so much money, but one is rotting on the bench. So there's a huge problem there. But we need someone who we can push Bruno. And I don't think that someone has got to be an expensive player. He can be one of the youngsters who is extremely promising. And in training, they turn up and they do amazing things that will make Bruno feel like he's under pressure. So, sadly, the one player that I feel can be that player, because Amad can also play as a number 10, that one player is increasingly frustrated. I dropped a video earlier today. I think the first video I dropped today, I was explaining to you the issues with Amad and how I don't think his mental health is good. And I think 3 weeks ago, I posted this video telling you, I think I broke it, telling you how Amad is unhappy. He deleted his social media channel platforms, all of them. And of course, in his excuse, he said it was because of Ramadan, which is okay, we respect that. But the way he did it before deleting the channels, what he first did, and I'm thinking he deleted them. Okay, let me respect him and what he said in Ramadan. But before he deleted the channels, what he did was go and first delete anything to do with Man United. Anything to do with Man United, and left images of him at Sunderland celebrating a goal, maybe, and one short video on his X account of him celebrating with Garnacho and Kobe. because these are his brothers, because they came through the academy literally together. So those are that's the one video he left. Then the other images to do with Man U, he deleted. And of course, his explanation here was it's because there is Shaitwan on the Man U jersey. I don't know what they push Bruno for the next 2-3 years that Bruno could give us, because Bruno is aging. He's 29. Ahmad is what, only 21 or thereabout. So what then are we doing? Because Ahmad is unsettled. It's possible that Ahmad could push to move out, to leave in the summer, with all the clutter and the commotion. And I remember Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said at some point that one of the problems United had, that managers have at Man United, is having so many players. I feel like maybe so many players have saved us now a bit because of the so many injuries we have. But it's never a good thing to have so many players, because certain players who are good are going to rot, they will be frustrated, and you will have an unhappy dressing room. And that's one of the problems Erik Ten Hag is having. And I'm sure part of the KPI of Omar Berada is to trim the United squad to a reasonable number. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made it clear he had so many players, and they all can't play. But even the manager knows some of them are good and they deserve to play, but you've got to select only a few. So you're going to have a bunch of unhappy bodies on you that every weekend, every 3 days, you've got to make a decision. But also as a coach, you cannot keep changing every time and then. So you've got to build something with consistency. So you're going to end up making, taking a tough decision to select a few to get a specific select group that you're going to be consistent with, and the others you don't select will feel bad. So but then they're all in the same dressing room. How are you going to deal with that? So these are the issues we are beginning to see with these players. Belistri left complaining. This is Joromatic live from Karamoja. Is Ten Hag still at United or leaving the club? Joromatic Zimbala, brother, Ten Hag is still there. Let's wait until the end of the season to see whether he will leave, but he's still there for now. But before he leaves, probably many players will have left, will go before him. But so that's the thing. We seem to have so many players signed without a plan, and this goes back to the fact that there was no structure under which players were signed. Managers would come in and buy their own players because the money was there, add them onto the others the manager before had signed, who have contracts running. So you end up having a whole university of players, but you only need a few on a match day. But also you want consistency. You cannot keep changing because so many players are good. But the manager also wants to play his own players, the ones he signed, because he believes they're the ones to deliver him the results. So that's like we know that Eriksen, I've just mentioned, Eriksen should be leaving. Rafael Varane should be on his way out. Casemiro, I believe the best for Casemiro would be him staying for a season. But chances are he will leave as well in the summer. The cleanup is going to be, the clear out is going to be a little, I think, drastic. I don't think it's going to be so subtle. I think it will be a little drastic, and many players will be brought in at a go. But those are the problems we're looking at. I posted a poll asking you whether you think Mason Mount is good enough to start. And let me just see the reactions. Of course, 83% of the people say no. 83% say they don't think Mason Mount is good enough to be a starter at Man United. 17% say they don't know. No one thinks he is. So you can imagine, this is a player we rushed to sign, to make our first signing in the summer. Again, goes back to what I've just said, the lack of a structure. The frustrations of Ahmad, who could push to move away, goes back again to lack of a structure. Pelistri, who was complaining with his agent and how he was mistreated, same thing. You remember how Pelistri was beginning to pick form. He was beginning to play games when Antony was struggling with his court issues in Brazil. Pelistri gets a chance, and you could see that slowly this boy was improving. The moment Antony returned, Erik Ten Hag put Pelistri straight back on the bench, slotted back in Antony straight away. We never saw Pelistri again until he was loaned away. But Antony consistently was doing absolutely nothing, but Erik Ten Hag still clung on him. Now, these are the things that, expose a manager. His man management, and guys, honestly, and I will come here one of these days and just tell you the issues with Erik ten Hag. But one of them that I'll talk about today is man management. I think Erik ten Hag's man management is extremely poor. And I've tried to say to pay attention to him, look at him critically, but Erik ten Hag has one of the poorest man management in the modern game. You see, you can be ruthless. Jose Mourinho is ruthless, but he's a good man manager. Erik ten Hag has a concoction of ruthless, but also this arrogance about him that he doesn't care, that doesn't work like that. You can't manage people if you have that I don't care arrogance about you. I think Erik ten Hag has it. That's why he will treat these players. Trust me, guys, when Erik ten Hag leaves Man United, time will tell. The beauty is there's a lot of social media today. There are lots of channels that interview. You never know, I could even be the one doing the interview of some of these players talking about Erik ten Hag. You can see clearly that many of these players, if not most, do not exactly enjoy working under Erik ten Hag. They work under him out of complete fear. Complete fear. It's just fear. They are driven by fear. That's the most difficult, the worst thing to do if you're managing people. You don't want people to be walking under eggshells around you. You're walking on eggshells around you. You don't want to do that. You want people to work for you out of respect, but love and belief in what you're doing. Because you think about it, for everyone, I've just given you the issue of Antony and Pellistri. Think about it. How does Pellistri feel? Because they see that Antony is doing nothing but clear favoritism. Think about Ahmad. He's still also feeling the same. He posted before he deactivated his channels. He said it will all come to an end. These are the things he's posting. What is he saying? He's dying to say something, but he can't say it because, of course, these players are. When you talk, you're banished, like Sancho. So you saw how he caused them, and it cannot be a mistake that Erik ten Hag falls out with Cristiano, falls out with Sancho, falls out with Pellistri. Now clearly Ahmad is falling out with him. It cannot be. There is a point when it was said there were issues between him and Rafael Varane. It all cannot be a mistake. It all cannot be a mistake. There must be something wrong with him that we also can judge watching this game. But also, if you try to analyze his interviews and the statements he makes about players, how he says them, his facial expression and body language, you see that there is a, again, like I keep saying, there is a thin line between being ruthless and being a bad man manager. Erik ten Hag, unfortunately, I think, tends more towards being a bad man manager than being ruthless. Jose Mourinho, I keep calling him Jose, but he's Jose. He keeps emphasizing it. I'm called Jose. I'm from Portugal. I'm not Spanish. I'm Jose. So Jose Mourinho, he was a ruthless manager, but a very good man manager. All players who played for Jose Mourinho loved him. Erik ten Hag is borderline, not even borderline, he tends more towards being a poor man manager. That's why he falls up with this. How can you come as a new manager in the English Premier League and the first person you openly fall out with is Cristiano Ronaldo? How on earth? At Man United, how on earth? That shows you're extremely full of yourself. You've got no respect. You're just so, it's bad, by the way. For me, that exposed him a bit. These, for me, are the issues I will have with Erik, who has his ruthlessness that tends towards bad management helped change a few things about United. Yes, obviously, without a doubt, because there was need for that bit of a shake-up. But you see, even Jose, without falling out, with players like that, because you can't tell me players would be lazy under Jose Mourinho. There is no way he would be lazy under Jose Mourinho. He would call you out, but you would still respect him and play for him. Man management, it's a skill. And the first secret to being a good man manager is avoid being arrogant. You can't be arrogant. Erik ten Hag has an arrogance about him. Even his facial expressions alone show. So that for me is an issue. And that's why Even when in the last game, and I was here saying that if we continue playing the way we played against Everton, the decision to sack him could be a little difficult. I think Erik ten Hag will have 4 meetings with Omar Berada, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and they see him and how he talks and relates with the players, the statements he makes, and they will properly have an idea of the character he is. Trust me, they will sack him. But I also know for a fact that Ineos, as in part of their rebuild, their cleaning of the house, they will call players to meetings without these managers, Erik ten Hag and his backroom staff. I can bet they will call meetings with only players and get to read them. Some of them might fear to say, but they will just read the room and know that, you know what, these players don't like this manager, and the decision will be made. One of the biggest reason that Erik ten Hag might be sacked by Ineos is not even for his tactics; it's for his character, his man management. It will most likely be for his man management. Poor man manager. But maybe again you can say there's always room to learn. He's only barely 18 or 19 months into his biggest job in his life. So maybe he will learn on the job if they give him a chance. But it looks ugly on him. It looks extremely ugly on him. So that's where we are. So Wan-Bissaka returns. So for Mount, I think I've spoken about Mount. For Wan-Bissaka, I think it's clear. We know where he will play. If he's fit, he will be the one starting in left back. If he's fit, there is no doubt he will be the one starting in left back. So thanks to Lindelof, he has filled the gap when he has been called. And I think Lindelof is one of those players who is most assured of their position at Man United, because he knows he doesn't even see himself as a starter, but he's an important player because he comes in to fill gaps. One day we'll see him filling in at right back or wherever, even in midfield maybe. He comes in there to fill gaps, and you need such a player. You're John O'Shea. But John O'Shea would even start a couple of games under Sir Alex Ferguson because Ferguson was good at rotating players. He just knew how to manage these players. Even when you're not playing, you would be happy to play 5 minutes for Sir Alex Ferguson. Ten Hag has failed to handle that completely, fair and square. That's the one thing he needs to go to school and learn if he has to, because learning it on the job might be difficult. Tell me the injuries we are having at United. Of course, we have Tyrell Malaysia. He's still injured. Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez. Those are the three the biggest injuries we have. Højlund is also he's expected to return for Liverpool, but he has not been seen in training yet. So there are 4 major injuries we see now. Even Harry Maguire, he's expected to return for Liverpool. Has not been seen in training yet as well. Maybe his program is to come later in the coming days, him and Højlund. Because Ten Hag said it, made introduction, honestly, has got to be Sato, because he hasn't played for a long time. Last played in November. So Joramtic Zimbala. The injuries we have are Lisandro Martinez, Luke Shaw, Tyrell Malaysia. Those are the 3 big injuries that are a bit long term. We are not yet certain exactly when those ones will return. Then Rasmus Højlund and Harry Maguire. 5 players. So they have reduced a bit. I think injuries can no longer be an excuse for us, really. I think that excuse is expired. The injuries excuse for Erik ten Hag is completely expired. I think we need now to get other excuses. Erik ten Hag has got to come up with other excuses not to perform. 78% don't think that Mason Mount is good enough to be a starter at Man United. 78%. Then 11% think he is. 11% are not sure. So that's the Mason Mount conundrum. So Harry Maguire is trending on Twitter, on X. Why do I still call it X? But I can put a question to you and ask, which centre backs in your view do you think should be sold? Of course, I know Lisandro Martinez is untouchable. I don't expect anyone to mention Lisandro Martinez, however much money would want to get. But which centre back in your view do you think should be sold? We've got Maguire, Lindelof, Evans. Of course, that one will be free. We can't sell him, but we can release him or let go of him. So we've got Evans, Maguire, Varane, Lindelof. Who of those do you think, in your view, should be sold in the summer? Hmm? I need to pick your mind because we're already talking about possible centre backs to come in, the Braithwaites of this world and the likes. Alfred Sandway, I don't think we've seen anything that Mount has offered, so ranking him now is not fair on him. Players, they're always having managers sacked. Power play is a bad headache at United. Yeah, but I'm asking, and we are all happy for his return. No one has judged Mount. For me, actually, like I've just said, Alfred, Mount is a good player. I don't think we had a plan for him when we signed him. Because even now, look at that squad. Look at United now. Even now, he has returned and is fit. Now, if all players are fit, where is Mount going to play? You look at that. You ask yourself that. Where is Mount going to play? If we knew that Eric Ten Hag if Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager of this team, the way it is, and we are in the situation we are in now, he would never have been in this situation, I know, of course. But I'm just saying, if it is a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson or Pep Guardiola, Mount would be playing in Bruno's position because Bruno has not been good for a long time. Mount would be playing, would be giving Bruno a proper run for his money. Mount would be starting as a number 10 to give him a chance to see what he does. But we know that Eric Ten Hag cannot bench Bruno. Of course, Kobe Maino, no manager would bench Kobe Maino. Then Casemiro, she's a natural number 6. Mount is not. So where will Mount play? Is he going to play wide in on the right, Garnacho's position? Hell no, he can't. The one other player who, like I said, could be benched to give Mount a chance is Marcus Rashford. Because for me, of all our players, all our forwards, midfielders, and attackers, for me, the weakest link, of course, Scott McTominay now is a bench player. The next weakest link for me is Marcus Rashford. Forget about the penalties he scores. Forget about the screamers he will score against Man City. For me, our weakest link is Marcus Rashford. So if Eric Ten Hag can have the confidence, the balls to bench Marcus Rashford, maybe he can create room for Mason Mount by pushing Bruno to the right because he has played there before, then play Mount as a number 10, then have Garnacho play on the left. Maybe if Eric Ten Hag did that. But is Ten Hag the manager? Do you think really Ten Hag can have the audacity and confidence to bench Marcus Rashford? I don't think so. Even when he was playing his worst football, he started, I think, 12 or 14 consecutive games, but consistently doing absolutely nothing. But he couldn't bench him to give Garnacho a chance. It had to be the fans shouting, just like we are shouting now, to give a chance to Ahmad. Let's hope after the fast, because this Ramadan is what will get Eric Ten Hag sacked. The boy is fasting for him. You can see, you can read it and see that this fast, specifically this Ramadan, Ahmad has dedicated to Eric Ten Hag, and he said it will come to an end. He has even deleted his platforms. Hey, you wait, this Ten Hag will hear. Alfred Sendo, what happens if Bruno is injured? Who will play his role? Obviously, I think that is where Mason Mount should be coming in. But when does Bruno get injured? But also, is even Scott now, because Bruno is mostly number 10, even Scott has played there before. But you see, you cannot have Scott McTominay can be okay coming off the bench, but a player who has made the first signing of the last summer when we needed so many signings, bought for nearly £60 million, cannot be on the bench. As a manager, you've got to explain that. As a manager, you've got to explain that to the people who pay the money, to the CEO, you made us spend this money on this player to be on the bench. Mount is earning, I think, £200,000 per week. Yeah? Let me be sure. Mount is earning £4.6 million per year. I want to get it per week. This is too much mathematics for me. 250. Goodness. Mount is earning an initial £250,000 a week, with potential to pull it to make it £300,000 per week. By the amount could live in the summer. His wages alone could kick him out. He better be fit and play a lot of football between now and the end of the season. But he might be in trouble because the contract he has is crazy. £250,000 per week is what he's earning. You don't bring that and put it on the bench. Namutebi Rita, good evening, Basebo. Good evening, Namutebi. Thank you for coming through. So, what do you do with that? What do you do with that burden? So, whereas we know that, and it's clear, Mount has not got enough chance to fail or perform, but the reality is he will not get the chance because Eric Ten Hag is locked. He's in trouble. You see, if Kobe Mino if Kobe Mino did not emerge, Mount would have a chance now when he returns, because then we could have Casemiro play in the 4-2-3-1. Casemiro would play in the middle with Bruno, because Bruno can play as the number 8. Casemiro is 6. Then Mount can be a number 10. Or Casemiro and Mount, then Bruno stays as a number 10. But you see, the arrival of Kobe Maino changes the entire conversation, because Kobe Maino will always be the first on the team sheet for as long as he's fit. So the thing is, Eric Ten Hag has got to be extremely creative to accommodate Mount. Now, to accommodate him, certain players have to suffer. Someone has to suffer. But who will it be? The weak links are Marcus Rashford and Bruno in terms of performance and levels. The weak links are Marcus Rashford and Bruno, but these two weak links are clearly almost untouchables. You would think you have problems, but feel for Eric Ten Hag. I think he was happy having Mount injured, because now he must be shaking. He must be thinking, what am I going to do? He cannot be playing cup games. problem. Mushkila. Anyway, that's football for you. That's management. Let me just see some news here. Some news stories, of course, concerning Man United. Andre Onana too is trending. Of course, Onana, he has been, I think he should be in the team of the week, obviously. I think he has been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this week, honestly. Another clean sheet, was it his 6th, I think? And I'm seeing the team of the week here has, at least we have a Man United player. Hoyland would have been here if he were fit, obviously. But Onana, Ben White, Romero, Robinson, Ouattara, then Palmer, Christie, Declan Rice, Johnson, Fofana, and Son. That's the team of the week. Okay. Onana is there. Yeah, Onana's improvement is impressive. Is impressive. I flew out with on the US tour of 2024. I flew out to the US to meet up with the team when I joined the club last summer. I also made my debut for United while in America. It has some of the biggest and best sports stadiums in the world, and I'm very much looking forward to returning. Well, remember, the tour dates were confirmed earlier on, and of course we shall still play Arsenal in the preseason. Andre Onana remains the only goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet against Liverpool this season. The stats are beginning to come. The stats are beginning to flow. But I don't think Onana gets enough credit for his passes. The goal that he scored against Man City, that was Onana. He doesn't get enough credit. Yes, we can of course credit him now for the saves he's making, but his passes as well are very important for how he plays. So he needs to be given the credit for that. Edward Musumba, the problem with Eric Ten Hag is his loose tongue mouth, who doesn't hide the dirt behind the scenes. Yeah, he spills out dirty linen. Eric Ten Hag will play Antony shooting blanks, then try Sancho or Ahmad. He uses same format trying to get different results. One trick pony. To just put what you said in simple terms, he's a one trick pony. doesn't work. It worked before with Sir Alex Ferguson because his only competition was 1 or 2, 3 clubs. Lately, you're a one-trick pony when football is highly technical and tactical. You're done. Erik ten Hag is a one-trick pony. That's a huge problem. It's a big problem that he's facing. You can't be that. You can't be a one-trick pony. So yeah, that's a problem for him. But also his man management can be better. He can improve on his man management. But again, there is time. There always time to learn. He was used to managing young players, kids. Maybe we can even flourish because where we are headed, we could have a lot of kids in the team, more kids than mature people. So maybe at Ajax he was used to managing kids and young players and babies. Now he's managing serious players who have won so many titles, earning crazy money. Back then he was earning players and he was managing players earning £2,000 per week. What 5,000, 8, 6,000, 10,000 at most. Now he's managing players earning £350,000 per week. It's a whole different ball game. He's managing a club, your favorite musician. That's what it means to manage Man United or even play for it. More people know you than people who know LeBron James. I think Erik ten Hag is more known in the world, across the world, than LeBron James. So you can imagine the pressure that comes with that. Everywhere he goes, there's nowhere to hide. People know you, and he has a signature look with his bald head. Signature look. So maybe that as well makes it difficult. But people can learn on the job. I just don't like his man management. I think he can do better. He can do a lot better and be a better manager altogether. But yeah, so I don't know. What's your prediction? What do you think will happen? I honestly have a good feeling about the Liverpool game. I don't think they will beat us at home. After seeing how we performed against Everton, I honestly don't think they will beat us at home. I think we've got every chance to beat Liverpool. I think, regardless the personnel, by the way, I think we've got every chance to beat them because I watched them against City, and yes, they confused City, and like you expect to do because it was. I think the Liverpool style is the perfect style to disorganize Pep Guardiola's City. That's why Klopp troubles him because Klopp plays passes that are direct and pacey, and they are bold and confident. They come at you. They don't respect anyone. Liverpool, Klopp's teams don't respect you. They will make you run and dance and jiggle and wiggle. They will come at you comfortably. So if you're weak, but if you want to deal with Liverpool, slow them down. That's what we did in the reverse fixture, in the Premier League, the game at Anfield. We slowed them down. We did not try to come at them. We just slowed them down because they are direct and hungry. The way they play, they are running and direct, and they are hungry for a goal. Slow them down and kill their rhythm. I feel like Erik ten Hag now is beginning to learn and have proper smart tackles. If the referee is good, he will know that it's going to be a physical game, so he won't be calling every fall, every tackle. That way we can slow them down and we can beat them. That is if our forwards are clinical, because they will definitely create more chances, but we will be relying a lot on Onana, but also on how clinical our forwards are in converting the few chances we will create. So we can beat them, manage them, slow them and frustrate them. But if we try to go at them and beat them for pace, we are done. They will wallop us. You remember the 7-0? They will remind us of that. Of course, they can't beat us 7-0 again. But for me, that's why I think we are going to knock Liverpool out of the FA Cup. Honestly, that's what I think. Thank you so much, guys. I think it's been an awesome 45 minutes. I'll let you rest and retire. It's midweek. You've got to prepare for. Let's not keep it long. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more about the game. Probable lineups, probably. Of course, team news. We should expect something from Erik ten Hag tomorrow before the game. I think Erik ten Hag will address the press, and we'll react to that and see what more we can change if we are going to knock Liverpool out of the FA Cup. My name is Webb. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a good morning, good evening, and a good night if it's night where you are. Cheers.